We'll start with a quote today. I want to say one thing. Elon Musk's Starlink is what changed the war in Ukraine's favor. Russia went out of its way to blow up all our comms. Now they can't. Starlink works under Katyusha fire, under artillery fire. It even works in Mariupol. These are the words of a Ukrainian soldier only identified as Dima, who in April 2022, in an interview with freelance journalist David Patrikarakos, praised the satellite internet system operated by SpaceX for keeping Ukrainian forces connected despite Russian attacks on communication infrastructure. The interview, happening only a few months into a war that had been expected to last days, reveals one of the key elements of Kiev's success. And Russia was listening. By 2023, according to the independent outlet Medusa, Moscow was acquiring Starlink terminals, often smuggled through Central Asia and the Persian Gulf, and a significant number of Russian troops were soon equipped with the devices. Multiple outlets report that having access to Starlink was a game changer for Russia, allowing its troops to bypass Ukrainian signal jamming and communicate with their leaders in real time across the front lines. This was one of the factors, among many others, behind Russia's continuous, albeit slow progress across eastern Ukraine. And then, in late January this year, the terminals went dark. Russia had lost access to Starlink, and since then, the Kremlin has been scrambling to find a replacement. The blackout came after talks between Mikhailo Fedorov, Ukraine's Minister for Defense, and Elon Musk, with the latter confirming on the social media platform X that his company had taken steps to stop the unauthorized use of Starlink by Russia. While this is a major win for Ukraine, the timing has raised a lot more questions than answers, not least, why now? And why was Russia able to utilize Starlink in the first place? Why now? As we mentioned in our introduction, there were reports that Russia was acquiring and using Starlink systems as early as 2023. And it wasn't just the media saying it. The use of Starlink by Russian forces has been a long-standing complaint of Ukrainian officials. So why did it take so long for their access to be cut off? Well, first, the relationship between Kiev and Elon Musk has been complicated. At the start of the war, Elon was one of Ukraine's most important supporters. 3 days after the invasion began, Mikhailo Fedorov made an impassioned plea for help on X, and Musk responded, announcing that Starlink service had been activated in Ukraine and more terminals were on the way. On the 19th of March, barely a month after this announcement, the Washington Post reported that there were more than 5,000 Starlink terminals in the country. By April, Dima was able to wax lyrical about Starlink's importance in his interview with David Patrikarakos. And then, a few months later, in September 2022, during a push by Ukraine to retake territory from the Russians, Musk gave an order that dented the Ukrainians' trust in him and in Starlink. Reuters reported that Musk told a senior engineer at the California offices of SpaceX to cut coverage in areas including Kherson, the strategic region north of the Black Sea that Ukraine was trying to reclaim. While the order was met with shock from SpaceX employees, they complied, deactivating at least 100 Starlink terminals. While the reason for the command wasn't clear, several people familiar with the decision said that Musk had done it out of fear that Ukrainian advances could provoke nuclear retaliation from Russia. It was a fear shared by some senior Biden administration officials, according to a former White House staffer who spoke to Reuters. But regardless of the reason, the outcome was the same. Ukrainian troops suddenly faced a communications blackout. Soldiers panicked, drones surveilling Russian forces went dark, and long-range artillery units reliant on Starlink to aim struggled to hit their targets. As a result, according to a senior Ukrainian military official who spoke to the outlet, troops failed to surround a Russian position in the town of Beroslav, east of Kherson, and while Kherson would be liberated by Ukraine's forces, it would be at a higher cost than anticipated. While this event happened in 2022, it was first reported on in July 2025, which, as you'll probably recall, was far from the best year for Ukraine. After a disastrous meeting between President Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky in the White House, the US suspended military aid and intelligence sharing with Kiev. This led to fears that Musk, at the time a senior White House advisor, would cut off Ukrainian access to Starlink across the board. Because of those fears, Radoslav Sikorski, Poland's foreign minister, suggested that Warsaw, which shouldered Ukraine's Starlink costs after SpaceX stopped waiving them, might have to seek alternative suppliers if Musk's satellite network proved to be unreliable. Musk, who had earlier claimed that the Ukrainian front line would collapse without Starlink, insulted Sikorski before insisting that Starlink would never switch off its terminals in Ukraine. Secretary of State Marco Rubio would support Musk, insisting that no one had made any threats about cutting Ukraine off from Starlink. All of this happened in March 2025. So when the Reuters report landed in July, it further undermined public confidence in both Musk and the US government, as it directly contradicted their claims that Ukraine would always have access to Starlink. And this came on top of other rumored issues stretching back years, including the explosive claim, later retracted by a biographer, that Musk had switched off Starlink access for Ukrainian naval drones as they prepared to attack Russia's Black Sea Fleet in Sevastopol harbor in occupied Crimea. Despite these headwinds, Fedorov, who is widely seen as a tech prodigy, has managed to cultivate a cordial relationship with Musk, praising him as a true champion of freedom and a true friend of the Ukrainian people. So again, the relationship between Musk and Kiev is pretty complicated. Second, in a 2024 interview with Ukrainian television broadcaster Saspil Ukraine, Fedorov said that while it was technically possible to switch off Starlink terminals in areas controlled by Russia, such an action would have a catastrophic impact on Ukraine because it would affect their units too, which would limit the effectiveness of their drone operations. That was a concern that was also raised by Victoria Sampson, a space security analyst at the Secure World Foundation. She told Euronews that SpaceX could technically limit Starlink coverage through geofencing, which would allow the system to operate only in defined regions. However, this would be difficult in an active front line where the line keeps moving back and forth and would risk disrupting Ukrainian Starlink use. David Baki, a senior research assistant at the Oxford Thermofluids Institute, told Euronews that Ukraine reported Starlink outages in 2024, which may have been caused by such geofencing attempts. In the Saspilin interview, Fedorov claims that Kiev was working with SpaceX to develop a system where only Russian Starlink terminals would be shut off, while Ukrainian ones would still function. This would eventually be revealed as the whitelist system, under which all Ukrainian Starlink users would have to register their devices for them to work. Any unregistered devices, which would presumably be Russian, would be disconnected. To ensure that only Ukrainian Starlink devices are whitelisted, military devices have to be submitted through Delta, a battlefield management system developed by the Ukrainian military. Civilian Starlink users have to verify their devices through administrative service centers. The third and final reason why this is happening now might have less to do with what is happening on the battlefield and more to do with Elon Musk's legal troubles. In early February, French prosecutors raided X's Paris offices as part of a criminal investigation into allegations that the platform facilitated the spread of child sexual abuse material, or CSAM. The investigation, which began in January 2025, initially focused on alleged instances of algorithm manipulation for foreign interference, but was expanded to cover complicity in the possession and distribution of CSAM, privacy violations, as well as Holocaust denial. The probe focused heavily on X's Grok AI chatbot, which had been used to generate non-consensual sexual imagery, including of children. French prosecutors have summoned both Musk and former CEO Linda Yaccarino for questioning on the 20th of April. Britain's Information Commissioner's Office, or ICO, also announced that it was investigating whether personal data was processed lawfully and whether adequate safeguards were built into Grok to prevent the creation of harmful manipulated images. In short, Musk in 2026 is a guy who is facing mounting legal pressure, including at least one incredibly serious offense involving CSAM. Now, we're not saying that Elon Musk finally took action against Russians using Starlink to get European regulators off his back, but the timing is, at best, an interesting coincidence, isn't it? And at worst, well, you can probably see why Musk might suddenly want to play nice with the Europeans. While we might never know for certain why Musk chose this time to cut Russia off from Starlink, we can clearly see the results, and they are pretty bad for the Kremlin. The impact. Now, before we address the impact of the Starlink cuts on Russian forces, we have to discuss why they used Starlink in the first place. In our introduction, we alluded to the fact that Russian forces began using Starlink for communications, as it could effectively bypass Ukrainian signal jamming. However, that is barely scratching the surface. The most important use case was for drones. Something you have to remember is that during the very first days of the invasion, the Russian military was expected to wipe out Ukraine's air defenses. Despite knocking out nearly half of Ukraine's systems in the early days, Moscow failed to achieve air superiority. In fact, by early March 2022, they had suffered such significant losses that the Kremlin decided to halt aircraft missions in the Ukrainian rear. By late 2023, Russian air power had returned to the battlefield, with bombers tens of kilometers from the front launching glide bombs, guided by GLONASS, the Russian equivalent of GPS. For Russia, this was a significant victory, as it allowed them to prevent the concentration of Ukrainian troops along the front line while Russian missiles could strike stationary targets in the rear. However, even with this advantage, Russia didn't have the means to strike mobile targets, especially relatively low-value ones that didn't justify the cost of deploying expensive missiles. This allowed the Ukrainian army to move and supply entire frontline brigades by road and rail. According to Medusa, to try and counter this, Moscow tried to use drones equipped with mobile modems and Ukrainian SIM cards, but Kiev stopped this by filtering cellular traffic to detect and disable SIM cards moving at high speeds. Russia also tried to use fiber optic cable-guided drones to evade Ukrainian jamming, according to the Tactics Institute for Security and Counterterrorism. While these drones were not affected by electronic warfare and have proven extremely useful in some sectors of the front, their range was significantly limited by the length of the fiber optic cable. Then Russia equipped Starlink on their drones. Starlink allowed Moscow to bypass Ukraine's electronic defenses that disabled drones by jamming GPS and radio signals. According to James Black, a defense analyst at the RAND Corporation, the system's low Earth orbit architecture made it extremely difficult to jam at scale. Additionally, the superfast connection made it possible for Russian operators to control drones in real time from inside Russia, allowing them to be far more precise. And finally, they have a lot of range. Serhiy Beskrasnov, a military technology expert and advisor to Ukraine's defense ministry, said that a drone equipped with Starlink had a range of up to 500 kilometers. The Institute for the Study of War has previously warned that drones with a range of 500 kilometers place most of Ukraine, all of Moldova, and parts of Poland, Romania, and Lithuania within striking distance if launched from Russia or occupied Ukrainian territory. And then, one by one, the Starlink devices used by Russian soldiers began to go dark. Michael Kaufman, an expert on the Russian military and senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, told the New York Times that while it's too early to see what the net impact will be, judging from Russian complaints, it's already having an effect. Russian military bloggers who track the country's armed forces began reporting frustration and communications problems across the front within days of the shutdown. Yuri Podolyaka, a Crimea-based video blogger with a massive following on Telegram, wrote on the messaging platform, and we'll quote him here, "What everyone feared for a long time has happened. Elon Musk flipped the switch. Our communications are in chaos." A Russian blogger, writing anonymously under the name Military Informant, warned that both Starlink connections on Russian drones and satellite internet communications for troops at the front had been disrupted. The blogger warns that the change could set Russian forces back years to outdated technologies like wired internet, Wi-Fi, and radio communications. Colonel Cass, at a channel run by the Russian pro-war blogger Boris Rozhin, posted that the Starlink saga had created a serious breach in communications which Ukrainian forces could exploit. The channel noted that Russian troops didn't have an immediate replacement, as there were no field alternatives that work as well. And while there were ways for Russian troops to bypass the Starlink blockage, it would take time. All of this taken together paints the image of an army in chaos, with one of its most important weapons disabled. While the Kremlin is scrambling to find an alternative, the advantage at this moment is with Ukraine. Uncomfortable questions. Now, given the impact that shutting off Starlink had on Russian forces, we have to consider whether it will be enough to force Russia to accept a peace deal more in line with what Ukraine, and by extension Europe, wants. Well, we're really sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that doesn't seem very likely. Although Ukraine does have the advantage right now, and Russia is unlikely to find any alternative that can compete with Starlink in the near term, Moscow still has options. The Russian military isn't going to simply stop fighting because it lost access to satellite internet. Before Starlink, Russian forces were relying on traditional military communication systems, and while they are inferior to what Starlink offers, they do still work. Russian forces can and will adapt. They have radio communications, wired internet connections, and traditional command structures that predate the smartphone age. The war will continue, just with one less advantage from Moscow. And while Starlink was an advantage, it was not an overwhelming one. While social media is currently alive with speculation that the system going down has led to large Ukrainian advances, reputable analysts believe this to be an exaggeration from Russian mill bloggers who have got caught up in a temporary panic. Russia is also working to establish its own satellite system, the Rasvet network, meant to become the domestic analog to Starlink. While it's far from being operational or even a viable rival to Starlink, it's still something policymakers in the West have to take seriously, especially in the event of future Russian aggression. Russia also has threats. As we mentioned before, Elon Musk has indicated that he is afraid of the war escalating to nuclear Armageddon, and there is a distinct possibility that Russia could use this to influence him into restoring their Starlink access. Vladimir Solovyov, an influential Russian state television pundit closely linked to the Kremlin, suggested Russia should target Elon Musk's satellites in space with nuclear weapons. Bro. When reminded that such an attack would also destroy Russia's own satellites, Solovyov sarcastically replied that Russia was already way behind anyway and could just switch to carrier pigeons. While this was clearly an exaggerated threat designed mostly to comfort domestic audiences, it doesn't mean there isn't a kernel of truth. The Associated Press reported that intelligence agencies from 2 NATO countries believe Russia is developing an anti-satellite weapon to target Starlink. Given how much money Musk has invested in it, could such threats actually work? Well, probably not. Musk has repeatedly shown that he's willing to make decisions that anger powerful people when he believes he's right, which is always apparently. After all, despite his personal objections, he has consistently supplied Ukraine with Starlink, and he turned on Donald Trump in spectacular fashion last year with his tweet that Trump's name is in the Epstein files, helping to trigger the big push for their release. In the Starlink case, Elon has the backing of the US government and European allies who want to see Russia's capabilities degraded. However, this raises some uncomfortable points. While this is an uplifting story right now with Musk helping the Ukrainians and dealing a blow to Russian forces, it highlights a much larger problem. Too much power is concentrated in the hands of too few people, and no amount of good intentions can change the fundamental risk that creates. Although Elon is Ukraine's ally today, tomorrow he might not be. And look, this isn't a critique of Elon specifically, although Musk is a guy who redefines the term loose cannon. Rather, it's the recognition that we've built a world where billionaires control infrastructure that was once the exclusive domain of governments. And while that can sometimes work in our favor, as it did for Ukraine, the power dynamics are fundamentally unstable and rather dangerous. What happens when the next crisis emerges, and the person controlling critical infrastructure has different priorities, different relationships, or different fears than the wider public? What happens when 2 nations reliant on Starlink go to war and both try desperately to court the man at the top of SpaceX? We don't have the answers to these questions. But governments around the world do need to seriously consider whether they are comfortable being at the mercy of billionaires. Thank you for watching.